How you loving? How you loving? How you loving? Welcome to the Bible reading. So today we are reading Genesis chapter 25 and 26. Welcome. We're reading the entire Bible. Yes, we're reading the entire Bible. Free online on YouTube for all to enjoy. We're going to find out for ourselves what it really says. That's what we're going to do. I did a little I Dream of Jeannie kind of thing today. Who remembers I Dream of Jeannie? You have to be old school. You have to be an OG to remember watching I Dream of Jeannie. Link. Remember? Who remembers I Dream of Jeannie? Let's go into Genesis chapter 25 and 26. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Love you, love you, love you. Let's roll, family. Let's go. Screen share. Let me remember to do screen share today, like I did not remember to do yesterday. Please forgive your sister. Please forgive your auntie, your big sis. Please forgive me. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on in the room. Here we are, the World English Bible. The reason we are reading the World English Bible is because it is one of the Bibles that is not in copyright. It is in the public domain. We can read from it freely, quote from it freely. I am thankful for the 6 Bibles or so that are in the public domain in English. Abraham took another wife, and her name was Keturah. She bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan became the father of Sheba and Dedan. The sons of Dedan were Asherim, Letushim, and Leumim. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldaah. All these were the children of Keturah. Abraham gave all that he had to Isaac, but Abraham gave gifts to the sons of Abraham's concubines. While he still lived, he sent them away from Isaac, his son, eastward to the east country. These are the days of the years of Abraham's life, which he lived 175 years. Abraham gave up his spirit and died at a good old age, an old man and full of years, and was gathered to his people. Isaac and Ishmael, his sons, buried him in the cave of Machpelah in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar the Hittite, which is near Mamre, the field which Abraham purchased from the children of Heth. Abraham was buried there with Sarah, his wife. After the death of Abraham, God blessed Isaac, his son. Isaac lived by Beer Lahai Roy. Now, this is the history of the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's servant, bore to Abraham. These are the names of the sons of Ishmael by their names, according to the order of their birth. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebaioth, I hope I say this right, not butcher it, Nebaioth, then Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedemah. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names, by their villages and by their encampments, 12 princes, according to their nations. These are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. He gave up his spirit and died and was gathered to his people. They lived from Havilah to Shur, that is before Egypt, as you go toward Assyria. He lived opposite all his relatives. This is the history of the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham became the father of Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Paddan Aram, the sister of Laban the Syrian, to be his wife. Isaac entreated Yahweh for his wife because she was barren. Yahweh was entreated by him, and Rebekah, his wife, conceived. The children struggled together within her. She said, "If it is like this, why do I live?" She went to inquire of Yahweh. Yahweh said to her, "Two nations are in your womb. Two peoples will be separated from your body. The one people will be stronger than the other people. The elder will serve the younger." When her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. The first came out red all over like a hairy garment. They named him Esau. After that, his brother came out, and his hand had hold of Esau's heel. He was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. The boys grew. Esau was a skillful hunter, a man of the field. Jacob was a quiet man, living in tents. Now, Isaac loved Esau because he ate his venison. Rebekah loved Jacob. Jacob boiled stew. Esau came in from the field and he was famished. Esau said to Jacob, "Please feed me with some of that red stew, for I am famished." Therefore, his name was called Edom. Jacob said, "First, sell me your birthright." Esau said, "Behold, I'm about to die. What good is the birthright to me?" Jacob said, "Swear to me first." He swore to him. He sold his birthright to Jacob. Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew. He ate and drank, rose up, and went his way. So Esau despised his birthright. Footnote to Genesis chapter 25, verse 30. Edom means red. Chapter 26. There was a famine in the land. In addition to the first famine that was in the days of Abraham, Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, to Gerar. Yahweh appeared to him and said, "Don't go down into Egypt. Live in the land I will tell you about. Live in this land, and I will be with you and will bless you. For I will give to you and to your offspring all these lands, and I will establish the oath which I swore to Abraham your father. I will multiply your offspring as the stars of the sky and give all these lands to your offspring. In your offspring, all the nations of the earth will be blessed because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my requirements, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws." Isaac lived in Gerar. The men of the place asked him about his wife. He said, "She is my sister," for he was afraid to say, "my wife," lest he thought the men of the place might kill me for Rebekah because she is beautiful to look at. When he had been there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out a window and saw, and behold, Isaac was caressing Rebekah, his wife. Abimelech called Isaac and said, "Behold, surely she is your wife. Why did you say she is my sister?" Isaac said to him, "Because I said, lest I die because of her." Abimelech said, "What is this you have done to us? One of the people might easily have lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt on us." Abimelech commanded all the people, saying, "He who touches this man or his wife will surely be put to death." Isaac sowed in that land and reaped in the same year 100 times what he planted. Yahweh blessed him. The man grew great and grew more and more until he became very great. He had possessions of flocks, possessions of herds, and a great household. The Philistines envied him. Now, all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham his father, the Philistines had stopped and filled with earth. Abimelech said to Isaac, "Go away from us, for you are much mightier than we." Isaac departed from there, encamped in the valley of Gerar, and lived there. Isaac dug again the wells of water, which they had dug in the days of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham. He called their names after the names by which his father had called them. Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found there a well of flowing water. The herdsmen of Gerar argued with Isaac's herdsmen because they contended with him. They dug another well and they argued over that also. So he called its name Sitnah. He left that place and dug another well. They didn't argue over that one, so he called it Rehoboth. He said, "For now Yahweh has made room for us, and we will be fruitful in the land." He went up from there to Beersheba. Yahweh appeared to him the same night and said, "I am the God of Abraham your father. Don't be afraid, for I am with you and will bless you and multiply your offspring for my servant Abraham's sake." He built an altar there and called on Yahweh's name and pitched his tent there. There, Isaac's servants dug a well. Then Abimelech went to him from Gerar with Ahuzath his friend and Phicol the captain of his army. Isaac said to them, "Why have you come to me, since you hate me and have sent me away from you?" They said, "We saw plainly that Yahweh was with you. We said, 'Let there now be an oath between us, even between us and you, and let's make a covenant with you, that you will do us no harm, as we have not touched you, and as we have done to you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of Yahweh.'" He made them a feast, and they ate and drank. They rose up sometime in the morning and swore an oath to one another. Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. The same day, Isaac's servants came and told him concerning the well which they had dug, and said to him, "We have found water." We called it Sheba. Therefore, the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, he took as wife Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. They grieved Isaac's and Rebekah's spirits. Footnote to Genesis chapter 26, verse 19. The word there, flowing, in regards to the water, means or living or fresh water. Genesis 26, 20. Here, Esek, they call the name of the well Esek. Esek means contention. Verse 21, they called the name of the well Sitnah. And Sitnah means hostility. Verse 22, they called the name of the well that there was no argument over Rehoboth. Rehoboth means broad places. 26:33, another well that they found, they called it Sheba. Sheba means oath or seven. Therefore, the name of the city is Beersheba. Beersheba means well of the oath or well of the seven. And that, my love, you, beloved, most loved of this great universe, that is the reading of Genesis chapter 25, verse 1 and chapter 26. If you came here for the reading of the Bible, there you have it. Now let's get into the commentary as we do every day, which is the juicy bits too, to go along with the Bible reading, because we've got to break it down. We've got to understand this. Do you notice a thematic contradiction? A thematic contradiction. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in, come on in, come on in. By the way, smash up the likes, comment, tell us your thoughts on this. Thank you for all the robust conversation around this incredible experience of us reading the Bible together, you and I. Engage, yes? Engage. This is a conversation. We love it. Do you notice a fundamental thematic contradiction in what Yahweh says in the beginning and what Yahweh says now? In the beginning, Yahweh said, wipe the whole earth clean. It's too many of them, and man is only evil. Look at the thematic changes. First, Yahweh supposedly created the man and woman and said, it's very good. 10 seconds later, a unauthorized agent, whom Christians would call the serpent, slithered, well, not slithered, possibly walked, because some people say that the serpent lost his legs after the curse. Okay, there's a lot of stories around the serpent. 10 minutes later, after God made them, put them in the garden, told them what to do, an agent comes in and tells them the opposite of what the God just said. How is this possible? How is it? Who made the agent? Where did this agent come from? Is this agent working for God? What is happening here? And how does this serpent know this information? We never get an explanation for any of those things. We just have an agent coming in and telling this new couple that God just made and declared very good something the opposite of what God said. Turns out to be true. That the God said, don't eat. If you eat of it, in that very day you would die. The agent said, no. And God called this tree the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So therefore, if you go according to the story, the God did not want the man and woman to have knowledge of good and evil. He did not want them to be enlightened. He did not want them to have the knowledge. The agent said, oh no, if you eat from that tree, you'll be just like us, knowing good and evil, and you'll be like one of the gods. You'll have knowledge, you'll have gnosis, as people later on called it. Yes? All right. I want to show you something about a tree. This is from ancient Sumeria. And I want to show you something about the pine cone. Let's go to before we go on screen share, let me pull it up for you. Let's go to my photos that I took at the British Museum back a couple of years ago when I was at the British Museum, because I do travel all over the world to find the truth for myself. I like to see it for myself. We lead retreats all over the world. You will be with us if desired. If you desire, you will be with us in Bali for Lionsgate this year for the Do Nothing Dopamine Reset, No Technology Massages Every Day Private Chef retreat in Bali, Indonesia. And you will also be with us, if you desire, in Egypt at the Magic and Manifestation retreat in Egypt that is on the fall equinox. Now, I'll get you how you can join the free Zoom with us. Hold on, let's go on screen share. All right, so we're going to go to our screen share. And first off, we're going to go to valerielove.com. And when you get to valerielove.com, If you click this button here, explore your options, you'll see that there are three options that you can come into our community and that we can work together for your highest wealth, for your on purpose living. Those are the options right there. And I tell you all about it on this page. If you are so inclined and would love to join us, then that's a beautiful thing. Here is where you want to go. 11, if you scroll down on the page at ValerieLove.com, 11 occult and astrological secrets of ancient Egypt. This is a live travel Zoom for the Egypt retreat in 2026. If you would like to reserve your space, click that button and you will receive an email to join us on that private Zoom. If you would like to register for the Magic and Manifestation Retreat on the fall equinox, press that button and it will take you to the retreat page where you can do your deposit and a payment plan or pay in full. Okay, all the details of the Magic and Manifestation Retreat in Egypt are here. And so join us on the Zoom and get those details. Now let's close that and take you over to a picture. This is the British Museum and Library 2024. This is year before last as I filmed this. This is currently 2026. I was there in 2024 and I want to show you a couple of the pictures here. See, there's a famous handbag from all these different reliefs. There's the famous pine cone, and they have wings. Now, this, in my estimation, is related to the tree of life. You always see them with a tree. There are certain icons that you always see these beings with. No one knows who these beings are. They're very large, they're very tall. They always have the handbag. They're wearing wings. Now, some of them have an apparatus on the back of them. Many of them are wearing watches. And I'll show you one that has on a watch with an actual boom. We don't know what that is. Some of them, yeah, they have watches on. What the watch signifies, we don't know. They have wings and they have as unusually large, tall heads. This head covering somehow could be a helmet, and they love this pine cone thing. This one has on the watch as well. Some kind of device that this one is wearing. I'm not sure if you can see that. And all the watches seem to have the watch has a specific design. It has it has points going around, and it is not random and is not simply decorative. It is my belief or my contention that somehow this watch enables it's some kind of technology. This one has some kind of wand or scepter, and of course, the handbag. Now, all the aliens all around the world have the handbag. This one with the wings. I don't know if the wings and the handbag go together. Um, well, this one right here doesn't have wings and still has the handbag. No, this one doesn't have the handbag. Okay, it's got some kind of scepter in its hand as well, a shorter scepter than this one. This one with the handbag has wings. This one with the handbag has wings. Here's the tree of life. It is my contention that this is from ancient Assyria, I believe. Um, this is the ancient Assyrian um, reliefs and also ancient Sumer. So you can see that these beings, it's very reasonable that we think these beings came from outer space. Oh, they could have done, oh, that's a good one. Time travelers. That's a good one. It's very reasonable that we think these beings came from outer space. They're wearing wings. I don't know. They're not angels. And how do we know that they're not angels? Because these are depictions of beings who are over 4,000 years old, pre Bible. These are beings who were on the planet before 2000, before the year 2000 BCE. Angels were devised as we know them from the Bible, starting with the Septuagint, when the word Malak was translated. Malak simply means messenger. We've talked about this before. Malak is translated in the Septuagint, LXX, that's what it's called, right? The Septuagint. The Septuagint is a translation of the Hebrew Bible into Greek. When they translate it into Greek, they use the word angelos, meaning some kind of divine being. It still wasn't an angel, it was kind of quasi, you're from heaven, you're from the sky, so it must be some kind of quasi divine being, angelos. Angelos was translated into the Latin as angelos and started taking on a meaning of like maybe this divine being, this messenger from God is going back and forth from heaven. And it began to grow. This story is growing and morphing. Then, when it was translated from Latin into English, angel. Then we begin to build the lore of angels, that they have wings, that they fly back and forth, that these are their names. And then it began to be reinforced with art. So you have the art coming on the scene of these angels with huge wings, halos over their heads. So the symbology and the iconography of angels continue to grow. And to this day, and we now have fixed in our mind what an angel is. So I say frequently, angels are not in the Bible. This does not mean that there are no angels. People are doing angel magic right now. We always do angel magic. People always commune with angels. Why? Because when the infinite source is going to communicate with you, please listen very carefully to what I'm about to say. When the infinite source is going to communicate with you, it communicates with you with what you already have in your consciousness. Now, magicians know this, witches know this, occultists know this, because when they start on the occult path, or the path of magic and the craft or sorcery. These are related disciplines, not all the same, all different in their own right, yet related. When you start on that path, you understand that you will go into intensive mind training because your mind can't be all over the place. And you will start to build an occult symbolic library of symbols within yourself that infinite realms, different realms will use to communicate with you. This is an occult secret that I'm talking about right here. And if you're not into occultism, it might not be clear. So let me clarify. Occultists, witches, wizards, magicians, sorcerers, we do our work from within consciousness, although we use tools and things like that too. Your mind is the greatest instrument ever. And in our minds, we have certain occult symbols. We have an occult library. The longer you work with magic and the craft, the more extensive your occult library is in your consciousness. It's like learning a new language. You're learning languages of the spheres. You're learning symbology, sigils. You're learning uh, about beings that exist beyond this plane of consciousness and how to communicate with them, because these beings don't speak English. I speak English. This being from I don't know what dimension, that's an I don't know what kind of being, doesn't speak English. So therefore, the AI agrees. Therefore, we must communicate in a language so that I can perceive the message correctly and I can communicate with beings in different dimensions. Everyone has the ability to do this. Most people do not develop their powers. This is what the divine, my higher self, the divine as me told me. The higher self that is personal to you. There's the all infinite source, and the infinite source expresses as this particular person and guides you in a personal way. So God is both immanent and imminent. It told me, don't dump your Christian iconography. Don't delete your Christian iconography. Keep it, because that will be useful in the craft. That's why I'm a Christian witch. I got it very clearly in my consciousness to not delete everything I learned from Christianity, because that would be useful in magic and the craft. And oh my God, yes, it was. Because when you go into magic and the craft, sorcery, necromancy, whatever it is that you're going to be practicing, like I said, you're going to have a new library develop in your consciousness. And Christianity already gave you an occult library. It already gave you a symbol, this symbol right here, the Tau, Tau. Now, some people call it a cross. This is one of the oldest symbols ever. It already gave you that symbol. And it's emblazoned like a sigil in your consciousness. If you're a Christian, you already got that symbol. You already got the symbol of a dying and rising deity. You already got the symbol of fire, fire as purification. You already got the symbol of water, the elements. You got all the elements in Christianity. Water as baptism, as a ritual. You already got rituals. And if you were in Catholic Church, you got incense. You got many other things that you require to practice magic and the craft and hoodoo and all of the occult sciences, magical arts and sciences. You got that occult dictionary from Christianity. Don't delete it. Keep that dictionary, and it can be expanded on. Yet I love it so much that that is what upper realms, higher self, God, beings use to communicate with me accurately, because I already have that symbology in my consciousness. I just said something, and people who are really deep into their occult picked it up. I just said something. So people in their ignorance is not an insult. It just means I don't know. There's a lot of things I'm ignorant about. I just don't know it. Ignorance is not a sin. It's not a problem. Why? Because ignorance can be ameliorated with knowledge. We can learn, and then we're no longer ignorant. Willful ignorance, on the other hand, that is resistance to the truth. It is folly and it leads nowhere. So if you're speaking to Christians who actually actively resist truth in favor of their cherished beliefs that have no basis, a foundation in truth, well, that's on them. They would have to decide when, where, and how they choose to change your mind. That's on them. You and I already know the deal. That's what you would not even be watching me say these words if somewhere in your being you didn't already know all of this. The fact that you already know it is what brought you to this exact conversation. You already know it. That is it exactly. I actually started to say the words, Dia. Oh my goodness, Dia, I love you. Mwah. That is it exactly. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and don't shoot the messenger. That is it exactly. Because when people come out of Christianity, they want to ditch the Bible, in deconversion or deconstruction. They ditch the Bible. They ditch church. They want to ditch all the things they learned about miracles and water and blood. And you learned a lot about all those things. You learned a lot of occult secrets in Christianity, whether you know it or not. And then when you got into read hoodoo books, you said, oh, wow, my grandmother did that. And when you read witchy books, witchcraft books, you say, oh, my mother and grandmother, they all did that. What? You mean they were witches? And then when you read sorcery books, necromancy books, oh my goodness, yeah, I was just talking to dead people the other day. We were doing these things unconsciously. And now when you go into the actual craft of being a witch, of crafting, of taking this information, embodying it, living it, and you are now the living altar of magic. I'm going to just be a witch. Everybody and their grandmama is saying they're a witch now. Look, go on Instagram. Go to the witchy part of Instagram. Everybody's a witch now. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you are an embodied, living altar of magic. Magic is just sizzling and crackling off of you, as you, in you, through you. You think something, it shows up. Woo, baby! In other words, in my iconography as a Christian witch, it's okay, I became baby Jesus. That's what it is. Okay? So let's talk about this fundamental contradiction in the book of Genesis. First, the God created the people, said that it was very good. 2 seconds later, an unauthorized agent comes in and upsets the whole thing. I couldn't understand why didn't the God just get rid of the unauthorized agent and help the two people that he just created and said they were so good, so good, so good. He was lauding their praises a minute ago. Then the next day he comes in because this unauthorized agent came in the picture, and then he now curses the couple that he said was so good. Okay, well, they keep having children, keep having children, keep having children, and the God says, it's too many of y'all. Everybody is evil. The heart of man is evil all the time, even though he said it was good. But now he's saying it's evil. All of y'all are evil. I now understand what I created is evil. How could what you created be evil when you're supposed to be the all good, loving God? You can't create something that's evil. Yet you're saying that your creation is evil. What is that about? All right, you wipe everything off. You start off again with just one man and his wife, three sons, and their three wives. Now, we do know you can't get 8 billion people just from that tiny gene pool. Yeah, let's just go with the story for now and not insert science. And they start multiplying, multiplying, multiplying again. And then all of a sudden, the same God supposedly is saying, oh, yeah, keep multiplying. Yeah, keep multiplying. Keep having as many children as you can have. I'm going to give you this land. I'm going to give you that land. I'm going to give you that land. Keep multiplying. Keep the, oh, you're very good. You're very good. But I'm going to give you gifts. I'm going to give you land and gold and donkeys and cows and all that. See, all these things were very important to people. Tell me now who has all of these donkeys and cows? What average person is walking around digging wells? Well, some people that are homesteaders and that are going back to live off grid, they're digging wells, which is beautiful. Tell me the average person right now walking around in New York City that has flocks. Show me the average person right now in Chicago, Los Angeles, Bangkok, Thailand, that's walking around with sheep and goats. Show me people that are walking around with tons and tons and tons, digging wells and living in the wilderness and the desert. This doesn't apply to you. This wasn't written for you. And so people keep trying to take the Bible and they kind of try to keep bending this thing to make it fit your modern day life rather than let it be what it is, a story written a couple of thousand years ago by people who needed that story. And oh, I can use that story for anything I want. The Bible has no inherent meaning. That's why hoodoos can use it for spells. That's why hoodoos can use it for hexes. That's why witches can use it for Bible magic like I do. That's why you can use it for anything you want. It could be allegory, it could be metaphor. The danger is thinking that this thing came from God. That is the danger. Let's go further. How about Abraham was a rolling stone? How many wives Abraham had? Baby, Papa was a rolling stone. Abraham had Sarah, Keturah, concubines. Baby, Abraham was getting it in. Now, I do want to say that the biblical Abraham, we have no evidence this person ever existed. There is zero evidence for the biblical Abraham. It doesn't mean that he absolutely did not exist, because there are a lot of people in history that we have zero evidence for their existence. So we cannot say, as they say in scholarship, the absence of evidence does not equate to the evidence of absence. Okay? Just because there's no evidence about them doesn't mean that they did not exist. We cannot fall into that trap. We are using our critical thinking skills. So they do believe that this figure, Abraham, was built on a character who was more like a warlord kind of person. And the Bible characters fashioned Abraham into being who they needed Abraham to be. Abraham was not the person that you read in the Bible. All these things that you see Abraham doing in the Bible, that never happened, okay? Didn't happen. It is quite possible, as many of these stories are, that the Bible writers drew from existing narratives and stories, which we have proof of because we have the actual stories that existed thousands of years, at least 1,000+ years before the Bible was even, before the first scribe took the first quill and dipped it in ink to write the first word of the Hebrew Bible, which is Bereshit. And remember, Bereshit does not mean in the beginning. Bereshit means in the beginning of this story. Like there was already something going on. So Genesis does not speak of creation from the very beginning and nothing was here. It tells you something was here. It tells you the earth was already there. It tells you water was already there. We read it in Genesis. It was already there. So it wasn't in the beginning of the whole cosmos. No, in the beginning of this story that we're about to tell you right now, there is a thematic contradiction with the Bible. It's a thematic contradiction in the Bible. And yes, there was an existing hominid walking around already on the planet that the Anunnaki grabbed, caged, and submitted to genetic tinkering and experimentation until that mashup of one of them and one of us and one of them and this hominid ape-like kind of being who I kind of sense was Homo naledi. Let's look up Homo naledi. That's my intuition. I don't have proof of that. When I saw Homo naledi, I watched a whole documentary about Homo naledi. It really made me wonder because Homo naledi does have, you can look this up. Let me give you the wiki link to it. If you like wiki, if you don't, use something else to research. Homo naledi. Now, this is a particular species of archaic human found in South Africa, which is part of the cradle of humankind. It fits the story. And the reason it fits the story is because Homo naledi existed in the Middle Pleistocene, which would have been 335,000 or 236,000 years ago. It fits the timeline of the Anunnaki because supposedly the Anunnaki did this tinkering about 200,000 years ago. A little over, the best we can guess, somewhere around 250,000 years ago is when they did this tinkering. And this would fit. And the thing about Homo naledi, which is very interesting, is that Homo naledi was able to, they had burial rites, which means that if they honored their dead, they had intelligence. They're not Homo sapiens sapiens, they're not like us. Yet they did have a high degree of some kind of intelligence. Now, they did not have speech. So Homer Naledi, oh, Abraham was a Mac. Return of the Mac. Papa was a Rolling Stone. Abraham, we read it. He had Sarah. Then he took Keturah. Now, Keturah must have been young. Because how did Keturah have another 5 or 6 children? Keturah must have been young. And notice, here goes the stories once again of genetic, of barrenness, of the population control. You can see threads of the Anunnaki story when they introduce barrenness. You have to go ask one of them if you want to have kids. Some certain women were barren. They introduced infertility. So the Bible keeps telling you about these barren women. Those are repeat Anunnaki stories because that is how after the flood the Anunnaki introduced. Could have been after the flood, or it could have been prior to the flood. At some point, they introduced, according to the ancient text, population control measures such as infertility, infant mortality, and they shortened lifespans to about 120 or so. So after the flood. So you can see why so many of these women in the Bible are barren and they have to petition their Elohim to be able to have a child because population control had been instituted. And so the Bible writers would have known about that. It was in the zeitgeist, it was in these old stories. We didn't know about the old stories until the old stories was pulled up out of the ground. The Bible writers knew about these old stories. So they took those old Anunnaki stories and weaved them into the Bible for their own purposes as they were creating their origin story, their story that's going to get their people in line the way they want their people to be on the same page. So that's why you had the barrenness and why Keturah had to go ask to have a baby. And when not Keturah, Rebecca. Why Rebecca, Keturah was spitting out the baby, so she didn't have the infertility issue. Rebecca had infertility. And isn't it interesting that after she got the fertility specialist come see her, whoever they did, Yahweh granted that she could have a child. Isn't it interesting that she had twins, which happens quite frequently when a person is on some kind of fertility program, fertility either in vitro or fertility meds, usually results, many times can result in multiple births. And if you wonder why Rebecca had twins, Esau and Jacob, it makes sense according to the Anunnaki stories. So when I read the Bible, I ask, does this add up to the Anunnaki story? And it always does. It always does. Like, oh, I see how that connects to the Anunnaki story. Yet it doesn't make coherent sense, the reshaping of this story. It's not coherent. Lastly, I want to say this. As we read the Bible, we've really got to do all we can to take our lens off, our Christian lens off, our church lens off. We've got to absolutely jettison everything we were taught in church about, or Christianity, or any religion for that matter, of what the Bible means. Get rid of it all and simply read the Bible on its own merits. Simply read the Bible as it presents and see what you make of it yourself without the pastor over your shoulder telling you, oh, that's what that means, and that's what that means, and and this one is evil, and this one is good, and we like this one, and we don't like that one. How about we suspend all that has been pumped into our brains and simply take the Bible at face value to see what it says? I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Mwah. Peace. Yay!